You may have seen on the news over the last few days that there have been demonstrations all over the major cities in Morocco being held by young people in Morocco. Young people who are calling for less investment in sporting events and more investment in health and education and the things that matter to the young. They are doing no more than what I used to do in England when I was a young woman. And we came out of universities and we protested against things that we didn't agree with. Unfortunately, I think some of those demonstrations were broken up by police and it looks quite brutal. And I listened yesterday to a very wise Moroccan who said, the young and the older people must come together in the making of modern Morocco. And we can't have police intervening every time there's a demonstration. We must allow free speech. And we all want the same thing as Moroccans. And that was a very, very welcome message from an older Moroccan in Morocco. And of course, it reminded me of when I've just told you, when I was a young woman, I was involved in a lot of campaigns in the UK. And then as I got older and I became a barrister, I end up in Morocco running a refuge as the one we've got here in a very business-like way. And I'm able to use the legal skills I brought with me to help the younger people manage and run this refuge successfully. And that brings me on to what I really want to speak to you about. There's a young man called Marley who posts on TikTok. And I can put a link in a message underneath this to make sure it's the right link for you. And several people contacted me because he'd been posting recently that he was rescuing equines in Marrakesh, and people obviously wanted to know if I knew of him, and I didn't. But we did manage to make contact yesterday, and he came to visit with his girlfriend. And it was an amazing visit. It was a wonderful visit. And the story very briefly is that Marley had he had a Moroccan grandmother, so he has got some family over here, but was born in England, is English, and he comes over here periodically to do charitable work. He does amazing things. He raises quite a lot of money and he supports schools here, and he's tried his best to see if he can help animals where they're mistreated. And he also goes to other countries all over the world and does the same thing. So I hope that perhaps people will look at his TikTok. Of course, to begin with, there was some hostility between us. Oh, that's to do with age, isn't it? You know, I'm still living in the past. I have to be careful to move on with young people. And of course, I've always been quite hostile to TikTok because when TikTok started, it was the sort of platform where I saw quite a lot of animal abuse and people making money out of it by getting lots of hits and monetizing their sites. And I always said I would avoid it. I tend to use emails, social media such as Instagram and Facebook. And this young man convinced me yesterday that we have to move into the world of TikTok because that's where the young people are. And he's going to help me establish a good running TikTok account for Georgia here, where we can post regularly and we can show people what happens, what we do behind the scenes, and so on. Very much like I do on Instagram, but perhaps a little shorter and more of them. And he made it perfectly clear that we can raise funds for the charity in that way if I persevere and stick at it. Well, you know, I will persevere and I will stick at it. So he's sending a foal that he rescued, a female, is coming here today, and we're going to take every step to castrate a stallion he's got. He's not in a position to rescue more animals, but he can identify them and we can work together. So that was a good example of 2 generations coming together, and I hope that you would wish us well. And finally, I want to say to all my Instagram followers, I cannot thank you enough. Last month, just by making individual donations now and again, helped our food bill enormously. And the money I raised on Instagram last month has bought a whole load of hay. So thank you. Thank you very much. We have to broaden our reach. We have to keep this, I think it's a unique refuge, going. So thank you.